Welcome to this explainer. Look, we all know we're way past the early adopter phase for electric vehicles, right? But with mass adoption comes some seriously massive friction. Today, we're diving into how the industry is literally engineering its way out of these bottlenecks and, in the process, completely transforming how we think about energy.
Let's kick things off with a number that really puts things into perspective: 18. Right now in the US, there are 18 electric vehicles on the road for every single public charger. It's wild. And this strain is even worse in a lot of urban and rural areas, creating what the industry calls charging deserts. This lack of access isn't just a tiny bump in the road. It is the central friction point holding up the entire EV transition.
And this perfectly tees up what energy analyst Dr. Elena Marquez points out. She says range anxiety is a psychological barrier as much as a practical one. And she hits the nail on the head. Even though, something like 80% of charging happens right in your own driveway, just the sheer psychological fear of being stranded with a dead battery, that can absolutely make or break a consumer's decision to buy an EV.
So, to see how we conquer this range anxiety and grid strain, our explainer is going to map out 6 key pillars: the EV infrastructure gap, mobile charging solutions, vehicles as energy assets, megawatt charging for giants, predictive maintenance apps, and finally, the new EV ecosystem. All right, pillar number 1, the EV infrastructure gap. Basically, what happens when adoption completely outpaces infrastructure? You can really see the tension here. On one hand, global EV sales are exploding, hitting a massive 17 million units in 2024. But the stationary infrastructure, it's lagging hard. By mid-2024, that US ratio we just talked about actually worsened to 29 EVs for every single public port. Because building fixed stations takes so much time, land, and money, it leaves us with this huge immediate gap that we desperately need alternative solutions for. Which brings us to pillar 2, mobile charging solutions, taking the power directly to the driver. So if we can't wait years for the grid to catch up, what do we do right now? We bring the charger to the car. Think of it as a super high-tech roadside assistance. Companies like Be Charged EV are expanding into 100 new US cities, plus Mexico City, rolling out this charge-as-a-service platform. Instead of you hunting down a station, you just use an app and boom, a van packed with high-capacity batteries comes straight to you. With their membership model, you get unlimited charging, slapping on 50 to 100 miles of range in just 15 to 30 minutes. Absolute game changer for range anxiety. And the money is definitely following this trend. The portable charger market is riding a massive 20.45% compound annual growth rate. We're talking about the market jumping from roughly $76 million in 2025 to almost $232 million by 2031. This isn't just some gimmick or temporary patch. On-demand charging is rapidly becoming a rock-solid pillar of the new mobility economy. All right, let's look at pillar 3, vehicles as energy assets, driving the power grid. Okay, picture this. Millions of EVs plugging in at the exact same time. Sounds like a grid nightmare, right? Well, instead of just draining power, EVs are morphing into mobile energy assets. It's called vehicle-to-grid or V2G. Basically, your car's massive battery smartly charges when grid demand is low. But, and here's the cool part, it can actually push power back into the grid when demand spikes, totally stabilizing the system. This is such a massive leap from just, setting a timer on your charger. We start with V1G. That's your basic smart delayed charging. Then we step it up to V2G, where you're actively selling power back. But the absolute holy grail, V2X, vehicle to everything. This means your car could literally act as a backup generator for your house during a blackout, or a fleet of delivery vans could power an entire corporate campus during peak, expensive energy hours. The vehicle literally becomes a functional, revenue-generating power plant. Moving on to pillar 4, megawatt charging for giants, electrifying heavy-duty transport. So we've got passenger cars sorted, but what about the massive logistics fleets, the heavy trucks keeping global commerce moving? They need a completely different beast of a charger. The current passenger standard, CCS, maxes out around 500 kilowatts. But the new Megawatt Charging System, or MCS, it is engineered for the big guys, pushing a mind-blowing 3,750 kilowatts. That is nearly 10 times the power. Just looking at these specs, it's insane. MCS makes long-haul electric trucking actually practical. We're talking about charging a massive 600 kilowatt-hour battery in under 30 minutes. With currents hitting 3,000 amps and up to 1,500 volts DC flowing through those lines, they literally have to use liquid-cooled cables just so they don't melt. It's a phenomenal engineering feat that gets electric semis back on the road fast, completely changing the economics of freight. Now, to handle all that juice safely without blowing things up, the whole communication setup between the truck and the charger had to be overhauled. The old powerline communication just doesn't cut it for 3.75 megawatts, so the industry upgraded to automotive Ethernet. That means lightning-fast data transfers to handle perfect timing, thermal safety, and those ultra-strict cryptographic security protocols every single second it's plugged in. Next up, Pillar 5, Predictive Maintenance Apps, the software running the show. You've got mobile vans, megawatt chargers, V2X grids. How do you manage it all? Software, specifically AI diagnostics. The market for predictive maintenance apps is absolutely exploding, going from $4.8 billion in 2025 to a projected $14.7 billion by 2034. These platforms use advanced telematics to predict exactly when a part is going to fail before it actually breaks, which is crucial for keeping these expensive EVs out of the shop and safely on the road. And get this, by 2034, the average revenue generated per connected vehicle from these platforms is expected to hit $112 a year. Multiply that by millions of vehicles, and wow, that is a massive new revenue stream. Monetizing this connected data is becoming just as critical to the auto industry as selling the hardware itself, simply because it ensures maximum uptime for everyone. Finally, Pillar 6, the new EV ecosystem, putting it all together. So, how does this whole puzzle fit together? The big takeaway from this explainer is that the EV industry isn't just about building cars anymore. They're engineering a completely new, deeply interconnected global energy network. We're deploying mobile chargers for the physical gaps. We're using V2X to turn cars into rolling grid stabilizers. We're building megawatt networks for the big rigs, and we are tying the whole shebang together with predictive AI. With mobile fleets bringing power straight to your bumper and your car keeping your house's lights on, we really have to ask, is range anxiety about to be history? And more importantly, are you ready to stop just driving a car and start driving the grid? It is a wildly exciting future, and this infrastructure revolution is happening right now. Thanks so much for joining me on this explainer.